Are ESTPs and ENTPs compatible? Before I can answer, please consider subscribing to the channel so I don't end up shaving my poor cat for the winter and using it for a fur coat. And hit the alert bell so you can get notified when I go live. That being said, what's up, ego hackers? This is CS Joseph Responds, here to answer your questions, all things Jungian analytical psychology, the four sides of the mind, and any other subject matter thereof. And the source of today's question is none other than Cora. All right, are ESTPs and ENTPs compatible? We got 9 answers and all things new. Seemed like they wrote a book for this. Oh yeah, they did. Let's see if it's accurate, shall we? All I can say is my experience. Oh, more anecdotal evidence. Awesome. My mom is an ESTP and my dad is an ENTP. I'm an INTJ. Are you sure about that? Both of them share the same sense of chaotic adventurism. It shouldn't surprise you that even though both of them make $80,000 a year in the late 1990s, they still couldn't manage to save a dime collectively. Their relationship was wild and started out as something fun. They both have charisma and the ability to fit into any situation. For at least a while, anyhow. They both know how to play the part and charm anyone, so it's no surprise they charmed each other into a marriage. Mom played along and pretended to take part in my dad's abstract interests and conversations. She pretended it was cute. My dad knew so many things about people and places without actually having any concrete evidence. Also, my dad would pretend to respect my mom's shallow, unassuming logic and desire to not jump to conclusions. But after a few years, just like everyone and everything else in the world, time tells all. Time reveals the nature of all things and people. We can only act out of character for so long before our nature comes forcing itself into existence again. Notice the word nature. It's meant to imply the fundamental framework upon which we operate and survive. It's like the law of large numbers or mean reversion. After time, the true value of something will be exposed regardless of irrationalities or regularities in the short term. Please stop. My mom began to think of my dad as some arrogant talker who never took any action on any of his ideas. She saw him as hypercritical, not knowing that he simply derived satisfaction out of mentally deconstructing everything in sight. My dad began to view in my mom as someone who simply chose to be naive and overindulgent in sensory pleasures. And he saw her as boring and simple for the worst reasons. I think you're describing a cohort relationship between an ENTP and an ISTJ, let's be honest. The differences were too stark and the arguments and resentments were too deep to make the marriage going. They divorced, unfortunately. Reed Foxwell played Ultimate for a few years. Okay. Yes, a big yes for this, speaking from personal experience, but then again, it's not like I have a choice to not live with my older ESTP sister. We were both super duper close, and you'd be surprised at how her SE and my NE don't clash too much. Well, of course, it shows at times. Sometimes when we get into an argument, she just used a lot of her SE to prove her points, but my NE would find rebuttals, resulting in her just ignoring me and saying, whatever. She's also more physical, verbal when it comes to insults and gets triggered more easily, while I'm just here 110% used to it and it remains unaffected. Okay, that's fair. She also noticeably more extroverted and loves team sports. Okay. We both play Ultimate Frisbee, but she's way better and is one of the MVPs. However, we still get along super well. When discussing things, her SETI and my NETI work pretty well. Her ideas are more realistic and will get going with the idea while I can create numerous other ideas and solutions she didn't think about before. We also love telling stories and jokes to each other and just lays around together. Accurate. In the end, it really just boils down to working out the differences and finding common ground. Any type could be compatible with any type as long as they make it work, as long as they want to make it work out. True. No matter whether it's S or N or whatever. I disagree with that. By the way, I don't treat her like a minion, especially since she's the older sister. Okay, Mr. Traditional Introverted Censor. In fact, I'm the only N in the family. Mom's an ISTJ while dad's an ISFJ. This is actually a really good post. I'm going to upvote that post. CD and Jelly, just a guy who thinks he knows a lot about MBTI. Absolutely not. And of course, I say this with tongue in cheek. Any type can be in a relationship with any other type and it can work. That's not true. I mean, you technically could force it, but technically it just doesn't from a nature standpoint. Typology isn't your entire personality, true. Just a proclivity towards certain reactions to the world around you, more like a preference. But ESTPs drive a lot of people crazy. ENTPs will likely find them a kindred spirit for a short while, but as they get closer, it becomes more and more evident that the ESTP lacks the depth and understanding that the ENTPs possess. Instead of debating, they argue. Instead of imagining a great adventure, they just want to go seek thrills. Instead of offending people with witty, biting sarcasm, they just offend people with the least common denominator of thought. That's not accurate. Instead, the ENTP sees them for what they are. The dark doppelganger of their own personality, seemingly all the negative parts of themselves they secretly loathe, without the redeeming qualities they live for. So yeah, absolutely not. I disagree. Downvote. All right. So the answer is, of course, they can be compatible, but not in the way that you think. So there is minute sexual compatibility because it's SE hero being paired up with SI inferior and expert intuition hero being paired up with NI inferior. The NI inferior really, really enjoys getting unlimited freedom of choice from an expert intuition hero. However, over time, if the ESTP is a woman, that ESTP woman would end up losing respect for the ENTP man over time due to the huge amount of freedom of choice that he gives her. So he has to kind of learn to dial it back with his ISFJ subconscious and really start to put his comfort and what makes him comfortable far above her freedom of choice. Otherwise, she will lose respect for him over time. And that's just normal. However, the inverse of that is not necessarily accurate. The expert intuition hero ENTP woman would be giving unlimited choice to the man, and that actually has a much higher rate of working given Western society intersexual relationships requirements, social requirements, including the feminine primary social order as well, also known as the feminine imperative. And based on how people are conditioned from a masculine, feminine standpoint, ESTP men are the most natural alphas of all men out there, and ENTP women are extremely feminine. And in that context, the relationship has a higher chance of success than a relationship with an ENTP man and an ESTP woman. This is one of the reasons for this, and I don't care how controversial this is, but it's just accurate. Men are conditioned in Western society to provide unconditional love, whereas women in Western society are not conditioned to provide unconditional respect for men. Don't forget that when it comes to men, respect is absolutely key. It's not good enough to say, I love you to a man. If you want to learn more about that, go to the playlist on this YouTube channel and watch season 4 specifically, where I actually explain all that, the season 4 playlist, which is how do intimate relationships actually work. So please watch that. Beyond that, in Eastern society, it's completely the opposite. Men are not conditioned to provide unconditional love to women, whereas women are conditioned to provide unconditional respect to men. And it's really interesting to see this dichotomy play out. And when you look at like an ESTP-ENTP relationship, this is one of the relationships where, because they have the exact same judging functions and decision-making functions, you end up seeing a more, you see the raw, nurtural playing field and the masculine and feminine dance come out within this relationship, if this is a sexual relationship. Are they compatible just from like a friend standpoint? Absolutely. They can have the shoulder-to-shoulder effect when it comes to decision-making. The randomness of the ENTP creating surprise free time makes the ESTP super happy, and having new experiences with the ESTP sharing those experiences with the ENTP causes the ESTP to believe that the friendship is real. Guess what? This still needs to be present within an intimate relationship as well. In fact, I am married to an ESTP, and that's what I do consistently. I'll randomly just tell her, okay, we're going on a walk, or okay, we're going to the store, okay, we're going to go get ice cream, or okay, we're going to go do this. Okay, I just bought this paddleboard, so we're going to go paddleboarding, or anything like that. This is very normal and expected, between these two. And some of the weaknesses, though, is that both of them are absolutely terrible at paperwork. So, like, in order for an intimate relationship between these two people to actually work, you're going to need to have like a bookkeeper and a really good CPA to just kind of keep track of all their finances and budgeting for them. I'd recommend outsourcing that as well. They're both very pragmatic, and sometimes they expect each other to be affiliative to one another, which can cause some additional problems. So something to be aware of that, especially the ESTP. The ESTP would absolutely expect the ENTP to do the right thing over time, and that can lead to some problems. Luckily, they can still go to the bedroom to solve a lot of their problems. However, the emotional problems, unless they have built the mental emotional tools to be able to solve their emotional problems, are not really going to work. For example, both types are TI users, so both types need to exercise patience in listening to the other. This is extremely difficult for the ESTP to actually do, to have that patience to listen and not shut down the ENTP. And furthermore, both types need to have gratitude. And because they both have FI trickster, these two types are very bad at expressing and showing gratitude to the other person. So both of them have to develop the habit. The ENTP is a lot faster at the ENTP to produce such habits. So the ESTP could also be at a loss for that. However, if the ESTP is the man in the relationship, if this is a sexual relationship, that's technically okay given the love and respect dichotomy. If you want to learn more about love and respect, I recommend you read the source material on love and respect, which comes from Love and Respect by Emerson Eggerichs, also Real Marriage by Mark and Grace Driscoll. Basically, if you check out those two resources, while they're very full of Christian concepts, ignore those and focus on the actual principles. Unless, of course, you're into Christianity, then go for it. I haven't really found very many examples, non-Christian examples for that. There are a few of them out there, like Chloe Sunderland, for example. I also recommend her as a source about these things as well. Anyway, technically, are ESTPs and ENTPs compatible? No. I mean, yes and no. It's very neutral. It's very, very neutral. If you know this psychology, you can make an intimate relationship work, and it will benefit both very heavily. I think within my own marriage, I've been able to develop some really healthy habits, learning from my ESTP wife, and she's also been able to learn some new techniques from me to deal with some of her issues. And I just think that because our subconsciouses are each other's pedagogue types, we're able to teach each other extremely valuable lessons and use TI parent to get through it. That being said, though, sometimes we feel starved for gratitude or appreciation, or sometimes we feel like that the other person is not listening to each other. But as long as we're keeping it within the love and respect, yin and yang equilibrium, as presented by season 4 content on this channel, it's pretty great. So I highly recommend people check it out. If I was to make a recommendation, though, if you were going to do like an STP-NTP relationship, I would say ESTP is probably better off with an INTP, and then an ISTP would probably be better off with an ENTP, because the extroverted sensing parent to SI inferior, it's a little bit closer, which means they're going to basically have a better sexual relationship. On paper, that is. At the end of the day, everyone is responsible for their own sexual relationship, and you get what you put in it, basically. So you might want to keep that in mind. If you guys want answers to your questions, please post it on Quora and tag me. I'm going to be getting to a lot of those questions very soon. If you want deep dive lectures on the science and that focus on personal growth, career development, parenting, and sexuality, go to csjoseph.live/members and get an apprentice membership while you're there. Anyway, with that being said, folks, I'll see you guys.